Hello, everyone, and welcome to UI Mondays. Today, we're here with, as you can see, a wonderful guest, Travis Waith-Mair. Oh man, I went to introduce you and realize you've got such a list of accomplishments and things that you've done. I think I'm gonna
resume padding. That's what it is. It's just resume.
Don't lie to us, Travis. We know it's lengthy.
It's impressive. But I think rather than massacring it myself, I'll just go ahead and ask you. You want to introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about who you are, where you work, what you do. The whole
Yeah.
shebang.
So currently I work. Well, I'm Travis Waith-Mair. I just was going to jump right into it. And currently I work for Plex. If Plex is one of those kind of companies, you either know it and love it, or you're like, who is this company? But they're the largest provider of allows you. Well, they have two different parts. They allow you to do your own personal media server, and so you can get your digital library of all your digital copies of things and broadcast them and stream them to other devices in your house or on your phone or whatever. But they also have video on demand, it's kind of like Crackle and Pluto had a baby, and that's their other part of their service. Anyway. So that's what I work on. I work on a Next.js app, as well as their contribute to their design system internally for Plex.
Nice.
In addition to that, I'm a course author at New Line. I wrote a course called Composing Layouts in React, and it's based off my library that I created called Bedrock Layout Primitives. So, see, it's just a little bit.
It's just a normal amount of stuff. Everybody has an awesome full-time job and is a course author and is a library maintainer.
It just brings so much
Sure.
anxiety, Kathryn, of what am I doing with my life? Not nearly enough, right?
Looks like you got some fans in the chat.
I do. Ben is a great friend. He's the one who got me streaming, because I also stream every once in a while working on Bedrock Layout. So he's the one who helped me get started on that.
Nice.
Oh, weird. Code It Live says this is a rerun. Weird. I don't know how to fix that. Let me go look. I'll go look in the Twitches while you guys keep talking for a sec. See if I can fix that.
Yeah, sorry about that. For anyone who is watching, we are in fact live. Put something in the comments and I'll prove
In fact,
it to you.
you're watching, and today is July 18th.
That's true. This could, I suppose, at some future point, be a
rerun, which would be hilarious.
Not today on the 18th of July 2022.
Well, I think it's the 19th in Australia, so maybe it's a rerun for them.
Damn.
I know. I was honestly thinking about that. I was like, but with time zones, should I clarify that it's, in this time zone? I decided not to. But Travis, your brain can wrap those variables. I was like,
I was just reading Kathryn. I now think this way because now Plex is the first time I've worked for a globally remote company. So we'll have people in Eastern Europe all the way through Australia and New Zealand, and we all work together, and we have to figure out how to make that work.
It's a shift. There's definitely a huge part of the Kendo team is over in Sofia, Bulgaria. And so
fun.
We are familiar with that particular struggle. I think there's like 2 or 3 hours at the very start of our day. That's the very end of their day when we overlap.
Yeah.
So
if you're lucky, God forbid you're in California or something,
That's true. Yeah, even you're in Central, Alyssa?
Yeah, Central.
Yeah, I don't have any overlap, so
of
either they're staying late or we're up early. But yeah, it's always honestly it's made me so much the awareness of just having a global team has made me appreciate, be grateful for, and try to be also more understanding when. But you're Central too, Travis. Where are you at?
I'm in Houston, Texas area.
Houston. Okay, nice. I'm in Tulsa. So.
Oh, sweet.
I mean, technically we're close, but not really. It's still really. Yeah, I was like, it's still a really long drive, but same time zone, buddies.
Anything in Texas, you're a long drive to just get out.
You drive 3 days and you're still in Texas.
Yeah. But before we go too far down that rabbit hole, one of the things that I think is really interesting, Travis, about kind of your backstory, and I dove through your blog a little bit because I'm that guy. And one of the things that I thought was really fun and really cool is that you actually made a career transition. You were working in finance.
Correct. Yeah.
Switched over into software engineering. That's something.
Yeah, I got fired, and so I needed to get a new job.
Sorry, I didn't mean to laugh. You just like
no.
Jumped right
I know.
in there
I'm
with
totally fine with it. It wasn't funny then, but like I'm totally fine laughing about it now.
Sometimes things, just shake up our lives in ways that we don't expect will be the right move, and then it turns out that it was for the best.
It's
and
honestly,
it sounds like
it's
that was
that one door open, window open kind of like it fits.
Right.
Not everything in life fits in that paradigm very well, but that one definitely did. It was unique because like I had kind of built my career in finance, not even like really enjoying finance. I did it just because like I needed something like out of college. I had a business degree, and it's like, what do I do with it? And I ended up going in finance, and then I had my stockbroker's license, and I just kept sticking with that. And I'm sorry if you hear something because like my office is open. And my child just came home, so
babies! Yay! Work from home.
But,
no, my dog is currently being very sweet, curled up under my desk. That just means that at some point in the next hour and a half, we're going to receive a package or the mail will arrive. All
the fun of live streaming, like it just happened. You cut it out.
Really just a matter of time.
No, but yeah, like going back to what I was doing, I was like, I started working in compliance, and there was so many like low-hanging fruit of ways I could automate my life in finance. So I started learning to like just like code macros with Excel and things like that, just to like make my life easier. And I just kept building my career on that. That it was eventually getting to the point where like I was like doing like HTTP calls from like my Excel spreadsheets to go get data, so I wouldn't have to go to the website to like pull it in and copy and paste it in.
You can do that? That's a thing?
Yeah,
did you know this, Kathryn? Okay, I cannot be the only one who did not know that was a thing. What?
I have had, thankfully, very little to do with Excel spreadsheets. That's not
a thing? Travis, is that still a thing? Can you still do this?
I'm assuming. I don't know. I haven't tried in like 5 or 6 years.
I guess you could really do. I guess you could do an HTTP call from anywhere, right? Like it doesn't have to be a standard site.
Excel is like really powerful too. I'm always amazed. I used to work with a product guy who would do like full mock-ups of what he wanted us to build in Excel and like chain all of the cells together so that if you entered things in here, it would update over there. Man was full on programming.
Oh yeah, like, just like working with cells by themselves. You're working with if statements, and the crazy complicated thing about that is like it's all inline. You have no white space, so like you're like just like writing all this in, and I was pretty good at it, but like people who are like experts at it, like I don't know how they can read those things, like but they can just read it. They can see like where those parentheses end, and they can just go back and forth. But anyway, yeah,
I think honestly, it is a type of programming, like being like what is it, like able to write perfect like Excel stuff is like its own level of programming. Like it's
100%. They have arrays, and they have this. You can get really deep down that hole, and then they have Visual Basic, like so they actually have just a language using as well.
Wow. Okay.
So it's Visual Basic for applications. So it's like it's not
for applications. Okay.
Yeah.
It's not the full visual. It's not like writing actual Visual Basic, but it's similar. Okay.
Yeah, it's the same syntax, but it's like the framework is Excel.
Oh my God. Okay, there's so much like that I need to learn. I'm so excited. Okay, so you found yourself writing that, and you had this like epiphany moment of like, what am I doing with my life? Like what I interrupted.
Well, it's just like this is like the only thing that I'm getting joy out of my career is like finding new ways to automate my life, do new things, like and then like. But the hardest part was like I knew I wanted to transition, but I was high enough in that career that if I had to start over, I was going to take like a 30K pay cut just to start over.
Yeah.
And like
Yeah.
I have a wife and family. I have 4 kids. Like some of my kids are older now and they can work, but like then they couldn't. So like I was the sole provider, and I'm like, I'm not ready to make that like jump downward.
Right.
And then I got fired, and then that made it a lot easier. Because then it's like, now I make no money, so anything I make would be a step up. So instead of like, at first I was kind of like trying to find jobs and the same thing, but I'm like, my wife's like, you've been talking about doing this thing forever. Let's just make this career switch and do it.
Aw.
So yeah,
Wow, that's awesome.
So how did you, I'm curious how you kind of retrained. Did you do like a boot camp, or are you self-taught, or what was your path? Because we have
is
lots
anyone
of
really
folks-
ever self-taught, or I don't know.
Yeah.
But no, I didn't have any money, so I couldn't do like a boot camp. And boot camps were still kind of like, there really wasn't as many options of those. Like they have like Lambda School now has the like no upfront, but like we get a little something like that. That wasn't
Right,
even
like,
an
take a
option that I
cut.
could find.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like, say what you will, there, whether that's a good model or not, like it provides people some options. That wasn't even an option. Like so I just did free code camp, and I just went through that curriculum and all that like crazy. I just basically built things on GitHub until eventually I got someone to just like, he was looking to get like a junior developer anyway, and then they were like, yeah, we can see that you could hit the ground running. And
what were you building out of curiosity? Like to do
GitHub,
apps? Like what? Yeah.
Oh,
like
just whatever like free code camp like wanted. That's the best part about free code camp. They have a curriculum. It's okay. It's good. But the best part is like, go through all those projects, build every single one of those projects, and put them on GitHub. Because I attribute that's kind of like your flight, like for pilots. What do they call it? Your flight record, your flight hours. Like if you can go on GitHub and they can see, it's not just that they can see that you can do one to-do app, but they can do a to-do app and a whatever, and they can see that you've hit all kinds of different things. It's a lot easier.
So is it this one, that link I just popped in, is this the one you're talking about?
Yeah,
.org?
freecodecamp.org. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. I'm sharing that. That's great, because I get asked that question. I even got it asked this morning. And I love that you have like an actual resource, because oftentimes I'm like, you need to build, but I don't know what you should build. Like, so that's perfect. This is wonderful.
And it will really train you, because like there's the okay advice where they like go do your passion project, go try to solve a problem, but like that's not always apparent to you, like what is a problem. So then you're like, what do? I don't know what to code. And even if you find it, you're like, I don't even know where to start on trying to solve that.
Yeah.
Where these things, it's more like how you really code in real life, because in real life you don't get to choose what project you're on.
No, you don't.
Yeah.
You build whatever your boss wants you to do, and you pick up. And the other cool thing was that they built all their like projects with user stories, so you kind of get used to that way of like, as a user,
awesome.
there's this. But anyway, so yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
So yeah, no, highly recommend it. But,
Don't mind me. I'm just signing up for free code camp right now. I'm like, I need to see all these projects. This sounds so cool. Like, what a cool teaching mechanism. Thank you for bringing that up.
The other really kind of cool thing they do, I never got that far because I got hired before we got to that. If you do finish all the curriculum, they have volunteers who will then go to like double check and certify it, and then they have like nonprofit work that they do. And they'll bring you in, and you can start doing nonprofit work, and you can actually put on a resume that you are a developer.
That's
like
so
working
cool.
on nonprofit stuff. That is so cool. Oh my god.
Look
Okay.
at that.
Sorry, I need to meet these people. I know. I need to meet these people.
It's a nonprofit that helps nonprofit. I don't know them personally, but like, yeah.
Okay, because I'm gonna hunt them down. Oh, that's funny.
In a good way, like.
No, yeah. No. Sorry.
Hunt them down.
Like, come off a little strong. It's good to preface.
I need to get rid of this free stuff. I'm starting my boot camp. I don't want people learning for free. I want.
Oh God. Oh, that is such a cool way. Like, what a neat way though to start your journey. And then, as you said that a company approached you and said, "We're looking to hire a junior dev." How long were you there? What was that story?
That was a perfect, because I went and started working for the Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints in Utah. That's where I went back. I was in New York when I got fired. I went back to Utah. That's where I have roots. And
Okay.
so I went back there. Well, also because like I knew Utah has like a huge growing tech scene. So I knew like if I was going to find
I don't think I knew that.
I just
Silicon Slopes, yeah.
Both of y'all knew that, so that was just a me thing, I guess.
You can't find a house that's affordable in Utah anymore because like
it was
California just have invaded it. Yeah,
it was mainly because of Travis. Have you been to NGConf?
I have not been, but I know like Utah is like one of the biggest.
It was
yeah.
It was mainly because of that conference, Kathryn, that I found out that there was a hub there. So of just a ton of techs locally. So you were in Utah at the time.
I moved back to Utah. I had connections. Like I was out of work, so I needed to like find. I had connections in Utah. For like it's a tech scene, and B like I needed something to transition with until I got a new job.
Yeah.
Where in New York, I knew people, but like not the same way. But anyway.
Was it hard taking that first job? Like, was like ramping up and like taking on like coding tasks for them? Was that, or was it easy?
It was actually like the perfect job for a new person because what the team was is they did, they called themselves the stack team. They were kind of like, they would go and like help different teams throughout who needed to like maybe ramp up and just hurry and get a project done. And then come out because the Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints, they're a unique kind of employer because you have to be a member of the church to work for them. And so they're like,
that's cool.
Like most companies or even other nonprofits, like whatever, if they're like, hey, we just need to ramp up, they'll hire like 2-3 contractors, whatever, ramp up, get the feature out, then let them go. It's only that. That's not as easy to do when you have to go find 3 or 4 contractors who also have to be like members in good standing and all that stuff.
I know. I was going to say it really like minimizes your pool of developers. I feel like
it does. And so like that's part of what my team did. Like we would go and like for like 6 months, I went and I worked on an app location for them, and then I came back, and then just before I left, I started transitioning to help another team, and then I've got a different job and I ended up leaving. But so that's one of the things we do. We also did a React boot camp. So we also had some internal things that we would do. We started building like starter projects. We basically support other teams in them building out their products, but we didn't own a product ourselves. So I got to touch a lot of different things, but I didn't have to have like deadlines. I didn't have like
that's like the dream.
Opportunity to grow and expand. And so we would do like internal conferences and things like that. So I went and like, hey, I want to learn about React Native and talk about it. They're like, okay, go for it. And they just let me go for it. So it was a perfect new job for a new developer. I had fantastic, super smart, like the other people on the team would be like architects on other teams. And these were because they would go and help people architect their projects. And so it was the greatest like mentors to have on a team.
That is so cool. So from there you went to, you said, a new place. Was it at the new place that Bedrock was born? Like where did Bedrock come from?
Bedrock came? I went to Pluralsight after that. I was there for a bit. But then where Bedrock was born came from right after that, I started working for a company called R1. And it was specifically to be their design system team. They knew they wanted a design system. I was like their first developer. I ended up getting a team of like 4 people. We were all together building a design system. And that us and a lead designer, that was the design system team. And it came from like throughout that, I was learning more and more about just like composition and component. And how does that translate in CSS, and where does those boundaries like meet? Because like I don't know, when I was taught CSS, it's still taught like 1999, where it's all here's how to do it for the page, and it's all exception. And it's like the best practices are based off like what was like important then, and I was never taught any like best practices for the component model, which everything is going towards, and everyone's like, well, we'll just use technology or CSS modules, which that's great. That gets you part of the way, but it still like it doesn't tell you like where like certain layout, especially in layout, like where certain properties should live, like in a component model. And so it was something that like I just had to like figure out myself, which is why I ended up creating the course as well. But like I just started creating myself, and I wanted to make that easier for devs because we had a lot of people we were adopting React, but we had a lot of like full stack engineers, quote unquote, but they were really like heavy back end and knew how to touch the front end. And we needed I needed to like,
oh my god, I don't think I've ever heard full stack described better. Like, yes,
that's pretty much it.
That's exactly it, and I don't blame it. Like that's what they wanted, and for the most part, they did touch the UI a lot. But like, if they're going to start implementing the design system, start doing this component model, I wanted to find a way to like make that easier for them to do layout in a component model, and so that's where that started branching out. But this is all internally in our internal design system. It's not open source. And have you ever heard of the term revenge-driven development?
No. This thing?
Maybe
oh my god, no.
can
Let us make it a thing. Is this a thing?
It's about to become a part of my daily vocabulary. So
revenge-driven development.
I try to get us permission to open source. I knew it was an uphill battle. But I got my boss's boss. I was like, "Hey, let's go open source this." And I didn't even get a chance to give the presentation. I was like, "Hey, we want to talk to you about open sourcing this." And I'm like, no, but like, let me tell you about like what no. It's like, okay, and I was coming up right around that time to like a break, and I'm like, I'm going to open source a library.
Doesn't have to be this one,
that are not like part of the design sense. The things that like this is the stuff I create that isn't like
proprietary.
Right, I'm gonna like rip all that stuff out, and we're gonna build this like layout bit. And I end up like, and I started. The name Bedrock came from like, let's look up words for foundation. Thesaurus, Bedrock. That's good. There we go. That's where the name came from.
So before we get too far in, for folks that are not familiar with Bedrock, can you maybe give us a quick, like a high level elevator pitch kind of thing? What is Bedrock?
So Bedrock is my component library that I created and I maintain. And I've kind of gone back and forth different like branding, but the one I'm kind of sticking with now is it's like the low dash of web layouts. Or Lodash, you have all these utility functions that like by themselves don't do a lot, but like when you put them all together, they do some really powerful things. That's what Bedrock is. It's a bunch of like layout utility components that by themselves don't solve all your problems, but if you put them together and compose them in the right way, you can build some really interesting, complex layouts. Actually,
nice. So I liked that with Lodash because I feel like both kind of solved, something that felt like it was missing. This idea that like there's a gap between the tools that we have and what we need, and this kind of is the bridge. And I feel like Bedrock does that as well in a way that makes a lot of sense.
Oh yeah, and like as I was going through like different design systems and all that stuff, like there's a couple layout components, but everyone's focus is, and rightly so, like on their buttons and their larger components like their cards and their modals and all that stuff. And layout kind of like, other than like some really macro layouts, most design systems out there like just kind of like either ignore it or they go all the way to the lowest level possible. They're like, it's just a flex component or it's a grid component. They've abstracted away CSS, basically. Yeah. And I'm like, I need something like in that middle that like does something for me, has some good like intelligent defaults and some ways to configure and override it. But like, it's not like so low level that I'm just like writing CSS, but I'm not writing it in CSS. But I pretty much am.
Yep.
No, I think actually this comment that we got sums up a lot of that. This idea of like struggle with utility versus component styles, finding the right combination, and layout gets tricky. So.
Especially like because when in a component world, you're supposed to think about your components in isolation. But then like, how does that fit in the idea of like layout in this grand scope of thing. Like that's where that vision,
No,
but
and
CSS,
I laugh because
you think, like,
even in like Angular, right? Like you talk about encapsulation, and it's like they're very encapsulated, and you have to like turn off view encapsulation if you want things to cascade normally. And so it's just like this debate goes on. You were talking about how back when you were learning, it wasn't very component based CSS, and these patterns weren't really taught. And I'm like, are they taught now? Like, I don't. People still can't decide which way to go. So I'm really, really curious about Bedrock because it sounds like a really happy medium on both of those takes.
It is. Well, it is. Of course it is.
Yeah. I fixed it. All done.
Exactly. Check. Problem solved.
Okay.
I did the thing.
That was easy.
But yeah, no, I think it makes a ton of sense because, right, like from a functional, when you're talking about like the performance of each individual component and the function that it's serving, it makes total sense for them to be in complete isolation and to be developing them kind of in separate rooms. But there's a lot of reality that, like, when you're actually laying something out, when you're handling the design, the CSS, the styling part of it, that's not how applications work, you know?
Exactly.
Right, to say from a functional perspective, it makes sense, that kind of abstraction, and yet it presents a struggle when all of a sudden these things have to live and breathe together on the same page.
And CSS is adding more and more things, but like for the longest time, it was still based off that exception-based model. Let's start off with like your website, you know, like everything I was taught was like, you have your one CSS. I will start with everything general website driven, then we'll get more specific page. And then one off, we'll do our one. It's all exception based. And so you have to understand the whole to be able to write to the bottom.
Yes.
And it's like, but that's the opposite of how component driven development is. Like I'm supposed to be able to write my component without having to know the whole and just plug it in. Anyway.
Well, and a lot of especially some of the full stack devs, the way that you kind of talk to about it, they're not super interested in learning CSS is what I've learned. That's not something that. That's not something that brings them joy. So
exactly. Well, and it was also an attempt to like, it was, I mean, the other part of it was like my designer was really important for him that we have consistent spacing and not have the, I just want people throwing the left margin of 13 pixels, random pixels. That looks good. You know, all that stuff.
It does. Yeah.
And so this was a way to also try to provide a happy path that made it easier for people to follow the design system and just do things the right way. Because if you don't provide the happy path, developers will find a solution, even if it's not a good solution.
Let's just say it's gonna ship, but does it look how you want it? You know, like,
exactly.
There's a UX word for that. I can't think about what it is, but they always show that example of like when like universities or places will put sidewalks that don't make a direct path, that like people will just cut across the grass. I want to say it's called a desire path, but it's like people will find the shortest way from A to B, you know, the way that is most convenient for them.
Just because you made the sidewalk. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
It doesn't mean people are going to walk on it. Oh my God, I love that. That's such a good, I haven't heard that one yet, Kathryn. That was a good one.
Oh yeah. Here, hold on. We'll see if I can share my screen for just a second.
Do it.
Great. So yeah, this is what's always used as the example of like a desire path. Right.
I love that one. It's like right through the
circle.
Right. Or it's like, yeah, you can do what you want. Like, right, the sidewalk there, but people are gonna walk wherever.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Oh, that's funny.
So.
Oh, that's cute. I love that. Thank you for sharing.
I'm gonna share that all the time now.
There's your UX vocab word of the day.
Desire path. I love it.
Desire path. You gotta write it down because I'll forget it in 5 minutes. It's the thing where people don't walk on sidewalk. That's what I'll end up calling it.
I mean, that's effectively what I did 2 seconds ago before I remember. I was like, it's the thing, you know, the sidewalk thing, the UX sidewalk thing. Everyone knows
the thing. Yeah, everyone knows the thing.
But no, I think it's really interesting, especially I was interested in it I came from a design background, and so working with design systems and stuff was very much kind of the gateway drug for me to becoming a software engineer. And a lot of what I did kind of starting out and where I found my niche was in that like component library zone, where I got to kind of do a little bit of both. And that sounds very much like the same space kind of where you were working and where Bedrock was born.
It's a fun space because like your customers are other developers.
Yes.
And they're also highly opinionated and smart people. And anyway, yeah. It's a unique user base.
Very much so. So interested, I want to step back like just a little bit because we talked a little bit about the spite-driven development of making it open source, which I love. But I'm curious why open source was something that was super appealing to you. What was it about this that you were like, open source is the answer?
It was just one of these things that like I'm a big proponent of, like, if it can be, why not? And I get that's not really always easy for corporations, but like we weren't like a design system that's like it's not, it's one of these things that like it's a low hanging fruit of something that can be open source. And I want to encourage our company to embrace that and be okay with like open source, not just consuming it, but also contributing to it.
Yeah.
And we'll be honest, as part of it, I also didn't want to keep using the internal Bitbucket for it. I wanted to have like GitHub and like some other tools that like are also free and open source. Yeah, it was just some more things that open up if you don't hold your code too close to your vest. And I get there's some code you have to keep close to your vest, but like if you can open up, you get other contributors, other people who can show you other use cases that can just make it better. They can battle test it. There's so many great tools for open source libraries nowadays that like we would get access to that just for free. Mm-hmm. But we wouldn't if we were like having to pay for it. But anyway, even something simple as just like CI, like we were like, it was just, we can get for free and do through open source tools, where we don't get that if we're private source. Internally, we have to go pay to have a whatever. I'm not a DevOps guy, so I don't know.
You did not catch either of us correcting you on that front.
I could have just kept making stuff up.
You could have said anything, and we would have just smiled.
I'd be like, yeah, CI,
yeah, DevOps.
I've heard those words before.
Yeah, some of them.
They're jargon that gets thrown around. I can say jargon too.
That's a solid 50% of software engineering. It's just repeating the jargon so you learn what it actually means.
100%.
Oh my god! But yeah, sometimes it comes back to bite you, especially in written form, because I've like thrown things out there, and they were like, "That's actually spelled with a B, not a V," and I was like, "I thought you are. Well, we're saying that word, okay." You know, it's very clear you don't know what you're talking about when you spell it wrong. So it can come back to bite. Warning for the beginner, can bite you.
The trick is to never write it down. Put nothing in writing.
Or record it and put it on the internet. Oh, wait a minute.
So I was hoping we could see a little Bedrock in action today. Do you guys think we could crack it open and come on? It's clearly GIF. I know. See, I don't know how you want us to say it, Duca. So I'm saying GIF. I don't.
This is another place. Alyssa and I have a couple places where our friendship diverges, and it's GIF versus GIF and React and Angular.
I think that's about it.
We've managed to overcome these for the most part in the name of friendship, but
yeah, unless chat brings it up again.
Chat, they know that's the problem.
We like to poke the bear. My son, he's 3, and this morning I was like, look, it's my bunny, and he goes, look, it's my poker, and he's like, poke, 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 and I'm like, yeah, I mean, that is what that's called. So that's chat. That is chat. A 3-year-old with a poker, right? Like,
you're like, look at this cool thing, and chat's like, yeah.
But no, seriously, Bedrock
Yeah,
demo.
we would actually
looking with
love
our
to do
eyes, doing with our typers.
You can help me build it. So I got a little demo, and by demo I mean like I have a code sandbox with nothing in it.
Perfect.
So
like
we'll
it.
build
That's
this.
what
We'll
we're
build this together.
Yeah.
This here, got it. Boom. Obligatory. You can see my screen. Of course you
Yep.
can. I have to say it now, even though I know you can.
It's a requirement. There's actually, I think, a curse that happens if you don't.
If you don't say it, yeah. It's like customer service. Like when they come back after they put you on hold, they're like, "Are you still there?" I'm like, "No, I left."
I'm gone.
I know, like I used to do customer service, so I'm not that mean. But like, I want to say that to him every time. I'm like deleting all this stuff because we're just gonna go just raw.
You
So
can make completely fresh.
completely fresh. I don't want any like previous styles in this thing. So
No, I think that's ideal though, honestly, because I mean, if you're
yeah.
starting a brand new project, that's what it's going to be.
So the first, there is I gotta spell it right. Bedrock Layout.
So-
and there's a couple different ways you can do this. Like you can import each individual component individually and try it and be very specific about what you want to do. Hey, son. Summer vacation. Anyway.
Oh man.
Or you can just get everything and just go to the primitives, and this will bring everything in.
Just to give a little context, this sandbox that you've got going right now, and I
it is
believe
React.
most of Bedrock is in React, but you can also, it's also available as just CSS, right? If you're making an Angular Vue project and you want to use Bedrock.
It's so the early forms of Bedrock came from the fact that we were building a React-based design system. And so the other thing is it uses styled components as its basically its build tool, for lack of a better word, because it's like is how the CSS gets to the page is through styled components. But as I've wanted to, as I want to explore things in Vue and Angular, it's like I don't want to build an Angular Bedrock or a Vue Bedrock. So let's break it down and go straight to also CSS. So there is a CSS, and I'm in this crazy middle stage where like, okay, now we're starting to diverge, and I'm having to maintain things. I haven't decided yet, but like, what does it look like going forward? Because as things are getting better, like, and tooling is getting better, like, I don't know. I'm trying to decide whether we should just dump style components in the future, in a future breaking thing change, and just have the React component library and then like the underlying CSS, and then other people can build on top of that and build. Anyway, that's future mental things that I'm thinking about. But it's also a big undertaking to make all that breaking change. So it's also like, I'm not doing it anytime soon. So so common thing that we build all the time is like a hero component, right? So what do we want this like landing page to be about? Like
chat, throw us an idea. What should this page be about? Anything goes. Well, maybe not anything goes. Most things go.
In the past, I've done something like the data base, dad jokes.
Oh no! We have a suggestion for coffee in the chat.
I'm always down for that. Yeah.
Although we gotta tell.
Do we have a good name for the coffee? You can just go coffee.
We gotta tell Ed about the database because he's gonna lose his mind.
Oh my god! Yes.
We have a guy on our team who is the king of dad jokes.
Truly, and
every team needs a good dad joke.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's cornered the market.
For Father's Day, my wife bought me 3 dad joke books. That was
nice. Well, you gotta get fresh material, right? Like you've got a long way to go yet. So
Well, I saw one that was a data coffee or data.
Data's
Yeah,
coffee?
Data's coffee. I like it.
Data's coffee.
And now we'll get to find out what kind of people you all are. Iced or hot coffee? Where you at?
Ooh,
Oh yeah, we can get
Where
into
ya?
there. Yeah.
iced coffee.
So
Although
Thank you, Kathryn.
I'm a fair weather iced coffee drinker. Once it gets cold, I'm back over to hot coffee. I'm not an iced coffee in the middle of winter person. I know some people are dedicated to that.
Ooh, let's watch the chat rage. Watch
second.
watch them as they rage.
my son wants to tell me a dad joke. What's the
Sorry.
dad joke?
How do you
Come here, do it on camera here.
Yeah.
Come here.
Okay, how do
Join
trees
us.
get on?
Say it on the camera.
Okay, how do trees get onto the internet?
How?
How do trees get on the internet?
Oh,
How?
do they log on?
Log in.
Yeah, they log in.
Dang it, Kathryn. Dang it.
That's
Oh,
fantastic.
God. That was
Chat approves.
it's beautiful. Thank
I'm,
you, darling.
More dad jokes.
The next generation already.
Trained
The
them
one
up well.
the one that they really hate, it's my favorite dad joke ever, is
What?
what did the farmer say when he lost his tractor? Where's my
What?
tractor?
Is that
Well,
it?
folks,
Is that
that's
the-
Yeah.
all for today.
Oh my
The
god.
joke is that it's not a joke.
Dead.
It's so
Dead. Oh my
Dad
gosh.
jokes.
Oh, that's funny. So what do you need in order to demonstrate layout? Like lots
Okay,
of
so-
elements, I suppose.
So we have this header. Probably for a hero, you do something like this, and you're like, "Hey, I really want this to be like vertically centered, whatever."
Sir, I'm
So-
not laughing at you. They're putting dad jokes in the chat. this one was rough.
Was not a bouncer. Yeah.
Ugh. So
Oh
carry
my
on.
god.
But you know how to find like the difference between a dad joke and a regular joke, right? It's just apparent.
That I think that actually dealt several points of psychic damage.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
That was rough.
Maybe we'll build something. Something will happen. Okay, so this is there's this pattern, and I like to think of these as layout patterns where in the hero component you typically have like an area that gets covered by X amount of view height and the content's vertically centered in the middle.
Mhm.
So that's a cover pattern. So we use a cover component. So we can come in here and we can do cover. And by default, it's going to take up the full view height already. But
Nice.
the other thing we want to do is because we want to keep semantic, so we want this to be a header. So we'll just throw that as header. And that
So
way,
that's nice. So from an accessibility perspective, if you're like using a screen reader or whatever, this will still show up as a header tag.
exactly. And so that's one of the things that I get for free with style components, that these all work, and it's also TypeScript saved automatically. If I was to go like this, why I'm not excited about ripping style components out is I'd have to re-implement a lot of that like TypeScript kind of stuff all over again.
Yeah.
And that's complicated to be like, hey, you can be whatever component I pass in here. Anyway, but then like let's say like we don't really want the height to be the full view height. Is that how you spell it?
It's a tough word, honestly.
I'm so used to TypeScript nowadays that it just
Hey.
does stuff in for me.
Hate the TH? Do we spell it wrong? Hate.
GHT?
I can't.
Yeah. Hey.
GHT. Okay, cool. I'm like, now I'm questioning everything. I don't know.
It's like one. Yeah, there we go. That works.
You have to write a word a bunch of times. You're like, there's no.
You're like,
It's one of
this
those
is-
words where you look at it and you're like, I guess that's spelled right. It just doesn't look right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have that, and so now we have that vertical centered thing going on. Great, it's just one component, but then we might also want to horizontally center it. And one of my favorite things about like old HTML that doesn't technically exist anymore, even though you can get away with it, is the idea of a center. Like, see, and I lost that, so now I get to go as H1. There we go. Let me get it back. And did I do that right? Did I break something? Why is that not centering? Oh yeah, this is centering, but like, what am I doing?
Is it useful width?
Oh, I think.
I don't actually know the answer to that. I'm just brainstorming with you. So feel free to disregard if that didn't make sense at all.
I don't know if I've ever used center. What does it do?
The center?
To actually align the text center?
Oh yeah, that's what it's. See, I have not thought about this, I haven't mentally prepared. Yeah, so this is centering the in this case the H1. It's going to have a min height, but like we can also then go center text. Boom.
Okay.
And it just has some cool things. We can also center like large divs and all that content, and we can also do center children and center line them as well. But in this case, we just have a center this thing. But we can also
anything
like
else that you add in center is going to be centered as well, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Nice.
Okay.
So that was good. I don't know. It's just to show that you can use this with like, you don't have to embrace style components and all that it does. You can come in here and go class name equals, we'll say hero. And then maybe I shouldn't have deleted that CSS file. Import. What was it? Styles. CSS. Let's make that file in source. Styles, not CSS. And that's not going to actually work because I need to go this, and we'll say .hero has a background. What's a good disgusting color in CSS?
Lime green?
Lime. Ooh, yeah, lime green. That's good.
Good call. That was disgusting. You're correct.
You're fine.
Yeah. So yeah, now this is, I think, some great branding for Dada's Coffee already.
That's the
Some
color you
lime
think of
green.
when you think of coffee.
Listen, if you're wearing their t-shirt, you won't be hit on the road. I'm just saying.
Yeah, it's
It'll
safety.
be visible. Yeah, safety first with your coffee shirts, okay?
Exactly. So this is what this is built off of, just the idea of let's compose things together. Now we want to maybe have another section over here. We're going to have some cards, some product cards. And we'll fill that out, but let's go blah, blah, blah. And we don't really want this much space. We actually want to like have this area stacked on top of this next section. And so that's a stack layout. And there's a component for that. So we can come in here and we can go stack. I'm so used to like my VS Code like filling all that.
I know, filling it in for you. I know. I get used to it too. And then I'm like, hey, today let's use this thing on stream. And then I'm like, why did I do this to myself?
You're like, I swear I know how to code.
And spell.
I don't.
Exactly. So the Bedrock has a built-in like layout, so you can come and do like gutters and do like extra large. I use t-shirt sizing because I like t-shirt sizing. I'm like, what does 1x mean, or 5? Like, I would rather be like, this is an extra large. It just makes more sense to me, so I switched it to that. But you can come in here and you can go like 30 pixels. and it will also work. Or you can go var
Oh, nice.
1x, and let's put that in here. So it actually, let's see here, root. What did I call that again?
Var is 1x.
Oh, 1x,
Yeah.
yeah. 1x is 100 pixels.
Tiny typo there.
Oh.
You
1z is what you had.
Oh,
Sorry.
1z.
gotta-
In theory, that should work, right? Oh, can we not do ones?
I was wondering,
Oh, yeah.
do we
You
know?
can't use numbers and names.
I
Or
don't
it
know.
can't start with a number?
Next one.
Ooh. Interesting.
I know. I'm
It used to
wondering
work.
now.
What did I do? When did I break this?
Can you use numbers in
Does this
some
need to come-
properties?
Well, maybe not. Maybe I broke this and now I only need to fix this. The fun of life.
Go.
Anyway, let's.
But yeah,
stick
but you've
with
got
things that
all the
work.
presets as well. And from what I remember, right, like you can go in and customize on the like
Yeah.
Bedrock side, right?
And then
So
if you really want to, you can come in here and then build your own like layout scheme and use your own, create your own variables. So you can come in here and just totally override. Override. Let's see here. So if you come in here, this is the website, obviously. And no, that's the CSS. Yeah, so there's a whole section on this. You can come in here and pull in like the theme provider from style components. So, and then wrap your app in this theme provider. But let me just like totally still what I'm doing here. I'll make it easier. Any questions from the chat, by the way?
not so far. But yeah, chat, holler if there's anything you want to see us try with Bedrock, or if there's any questions that you've got. I just dropped the link for the Bedrock layout website, so folks can check that out.
So we can come in here and just create our own spacing scheme. I have 0x, 1x, 3x. And now, instead of extra large, you see it stopped working. That's because I overrode it, and now I can just go 1x. Or
I see.
3x.
Okay, nice.
So the whole idea is like everyone's got their own design system they're using or their own something that they're using already. And this is supposed to just help you do more. So like if you're going to be bringing in this, I want it to augment what you already have going, not replace. Because then I would have to go build a button component and a modal component. And I don't want to do all that. So.
No, I think that makes a lot of sense that this kind of wraps and is that like in between space between the design system and the component library. It doesn't require you to actually change whatever you've chosen for either of those, but just kind of fills in the gaps.
Exactly.
Love that. Very cool.
I'm still in math. This does work. I don't know why.
Oh, I know. And here's the thing. As soon as we go offline, I promise you.
Yeah.
It's
truly just that we're live.
It is. It is. It really is. Yeah.
See?
Did it there? So it was it because we were throwing a 1 in there?
It was the number.
It was the number.
Okay.
I think it was just trying to be like, yeah.
Weird.
See, it does work. See, I told you.
It works.
I know what I'm doing. I know how to write code. But I want to go. I like Bedrock's like default, so let's let's rip all this stuff back out, because I also wrote it for me, and there's a reason why I chose the ones I did, because those are the way that's the way I like to space things.
That's the perks of writing your own library, right?
Exactly. So this extra large, I think that's a good amount of space. So the next thing, like you probably want we typically do is you do like kind of like a card layout, right? So let's go build just a single card. Let's maybe be an article. And if people have better like semantic HTML, I'll admit that's not like my forte of always knowing what's the best semantic HTML. But yeah, like let's say here a typical card will have something like, like a heading of like this is a coffee, so like let's think of a Davis coffee product.
Yeah, like maybe it's like a dark roast or a light roast, right?
Dark roast, yeah. Each two, and then there's a description of like it's really dark.
Watch out.
I'm such a great product person, you can tell.
Sold.
And let's steal something like from Unsplash or something. Like a coffee.
I love them so much. I use Unsplash for everything.
I like this one.
Yeah.
Copy image address. We'll go source. There we go. That's great. Oh, we got to put
high
alt text in
quality.
here. Alt. Best darn roast ever. Every time I do that, now I always think of Elf, where he's like, "You did it! Congratulations, guys!"
What was the best cup of coffee?
World's best coffee.
He brings her in, and she's like, "What is this? A crappy cup of coffee?"
So yeah, we want to do this as like a card. So let's address this image problem, right? Let's get that taken care of. What we want to do is we want to frame this image out and like cut it down to just the size we want. And so the frame, there's a frame component, obviously, for that.
Obviously.
And so we will wrap this. And if you wrap the image in the frame is what you do, and you'll see it's like kind of gone now. But we can come in here and go ratio, and let's say we want this to be 1 by 1 ratio. So just a square. But it will immediately take the image and then like automatically cut it and center it by default. And so we've got that addressed, but now we don't really want it to take up this entire like
the entirety, the width of the website. Yeah.
So let's just for now like just go style. Width is like, we'll just have it be 100 pixels. There we go, and you can see this. It automatically, that ratio as it comes down to the smaller size, it's automatically shrinking, doing all the things you want it for an image and being responsive, but still and doing that cropping that you would want with an image. But all good things. We want to like maybe just do this as a card component. So let's throw that all in the same file. Const card equals We're just gonna.
Both our pups are causing distractions.
Yeah, like my dog
Mine-
just decided he was done. He was at least relatively quiet at it.
Whereas mine is just like, hey, I need to check
Oh.
in. I need to check in with you.
You haven't paid attention to me for a while, so
I know, it's been a long day.
we're gonna throw that.
He's
in.
a very quiet dog, but he likes to wheeze. So like, it's the middle of the night, you're dead asleep. Doesn't bark if he needs out. He wheezes like this. And so you just have to like listen to the light breathing sounds to know if he needs something. It's very
God.
But that's like totally white noise. That'll put you to sleep. It's like it's like opposite of what you probably want.
Oh, that's what he was just
See.
breathing under the door, and that's him asking to get in. It's just him like under the like
Oh my
little
God.
door crack. Like, how does your dog ask to come in, Kathryn? Like,
Oh, he will whine. Anything that he wants
Oh,
is like
whine.
a high-pitched whine.
whine.
Like you just slowly let the air out of a balloon. It's such a sad little noise.
oh my god! Hey, Thindle. Good evening. How are you?
Then I'm like, what's happening?
CSS and dog whines. Not sure I arrived to here.
Changing things out. I changed it to a 16:9. I like that a little bit better. Anyway,
It's nice.
so like this is like a common thing. You'll have a whole bunch of cards, and I just copy and paste it to make it real easy. But then you want this in a responsive grid where it's like each one will grow as large as it can, but you don't want them to shrink beyond like a certain width. And so there's a couple different ones you can use depending on what you want. There's a grid, and this will we can wrap this in a grid. I know this is the fun of live coding. Like you don't get to like look smart.
See,
And
I don't know.
then-
I think people appreciate actually seeing how it's done.
Mhm.
Because every
Yeah.
now and again, like I'll watch those videos where everything is like polished to perfection. I'm always like, that's not how this is gonna go with me. And if I'm trying to follow along, it's all over but the crying. Like, I prefer to watch people actually code.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I'm right there with you. I was laughing because Sean said that my dog says to me, it's either in your office or outside. Choice is yours. And I was just laughing at that. It cracked me up. And then Thindle said, my cat scratches at the door, and when I open it, she walks away. So we've got these new books. If you have children, young children, you need to get the Flubby books. The Flubby books are where it's at. This cat named Flubby, who's just a ridiculous cat. And so it reminds me of Flubby, Thindle, and 10 out of 10 would read Flubby again. So
Flubby.
it's like Flubby will not take a bath, Flubby will not go to sleep, things like that. Yeah.
Let's see here. What am I? There we go.
Oh, nice.
Oh, nice.
I didn't make it small enough. I didn't take. I was like 40 ch. That should be pretty good. Let's make it smaller, like 10 ch. There we go.
Thindle, I need the title of this book immediately.
I believe he's talking about go the F to sleep.
Oh, no. Is this a real thing?
Go the
Yeah.
F to sleep. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have not heard of it. I haven't heard of it.
Yeah, no.
It's
That's funny.
it's like a parody of a children's book. That
Oh,
Samuel
the
L.
audio
Jackson
book is
read.
Samuel L. Jackson reads it.
That's what
Oh my
the
God.
chat's talking about.
I was just
For
playing around with
whatever
something.
reason.
I was like, what would it look like if I did this? But anyway.
It
This
looks
is
nice.
also
That's
the
what it
fun,
looks
isn't
like.
Okay, so here's your typical card. Maybe we'll throw in like style equals. No. I hate that about React is I have to do it as an object. Yeah. Order.
Yeah, but once it's set up, you can just do whatever you want in there.
Yeah, solid. Gray.
Like
is
every
Alyssa
.NET
Light's
developer
constant.
ever was like,
So
I
this is
get
our
so
other
much-
back and forth. Is that
Yeah.
I'm always like,
Yeah.
just throw stuff in there, right into the JSX, whatever you want. It's like, No rules, just right.
And I'm like, yeah, that CSS should totally be an object. I'm okay with that.
Throw it in there.
Exactly. So we have, well, it doesn't help that like I also do Solid a lot, and Solid does JSX, but like it's not React JSX, and so like you can do style as a string in Solid JS, and so it's like it's now ruining when I go back to React because it feels like React.
Yeah.
But so yeah, we have this typical kind of card layout that as we grow, we can try to fit more on, but as what are you doing?
Sometimes it's the code pins, like the
it just takes a minute.
It's not like it. Yeah, it's not. I have found sometimes when I run into these things, I have to like download it and then like run it on my machine and show it in the browser because the rendering, like I ran into bugs where I was like, it ended up being like whatever.
Right, because it's
in browser code editor,
a browser within your browser.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, it normally but for some reason this is not working the way it's doing. Yeah, look at that. That's like it won't get smaller.
It'll go. If you leave it for a sec, I bet it'll catch up.
If you like go to that point and then give it a second, or like refresh on it, maybe.
Yeah, refresh it.
Yeah, refresh it. See if it.
Yeah,
there it goes. See,
so there we go.
It's the rendering. Yeah,
it's totally the rendering.
So now they're all stacked. Once you can't get there, but like when we get to these screens, it just tries to optimize based off that minimum item width that you set.
That is really nice because a bunch of people that we've talked to are confused and frustrated by CSS Grid.
Yeah, well, and I went back and forth, and I'm not always sure like I chose the right name for this because it is a grid, but CSS also has CSS Grid, and this isn't an abstraction of CSS Grid. This is a grid, a layout pattern, not grid.
Oh, okay.
The technology. Right. It's using grid under the hood, but that's just like
okay. Right. It's a design grid. It's not one-to-one CSS Grid.
So that's one style to do it like that. There's another pattern, and I call it the column drop just because I needed a name.
Ooh.
And it's the same thing. It's still the same concept of a minimum item width, but the columns on each row don't like necessarily like stick. So like you see this one like will take up the full row. So this is kind of your more like kind of like fan. The other one's kind of like I don't know your very formal style, and this is more of your like hey we're
right. It'll fill the space available.
Yeah, we'll fill the space available.
I like that. That's nice.
So and what's cool like is it's still a minimum item width. You can just go back and forth if you want to. And then the other one, this isn't a good use case, but like on the website, Bedrock Layout there's a Masonry Grid, the Pinterest style grid, which is kind of going out of style, but the whole idea of like it will like optimize for the width, but like it will bump up as filling that really vertical space as soon.
Because I'll tell you, those suck to code from scratch.
Yeah, which is why I built this. Well, this one took me a year to get right, and so
I 100% believe. As someone who has had to build a Masonry Grid before, I completely believe that it took a year.
And so now that it's there, like when you do need it, it's really great that this exists. But this is other than Pinterest, these have kind of gone out of style.
They're my mortal enemy. I could spend another hour just dunking on Masonry Grids.
There's a lot of feelings here.
I got a lot of built up rage.
So that's the whole idea of Bedrock. Is like let's take these things and we'll build them together, and individually, like this cover doesn't do enough, but like with all these other things, you get some really cool, fun layouts and do it really quick. Like we built, I think pretty quickly, pretty like good landing page.
Yeah.
With a great design scheme, this lime green, love it.
Always. You're welcome. Hey, you were the one that specified ugly, or what was it? Disgusting. There we go. Yeah. Ask delivered.
Yeah, but I think the thing about this that really is nice, as much as we're like kind of laughing at how disgusting that light and green is that you could, I mean, whatever design system you already have, this is completely non-opinionated in terms of
Yeah.
that. So yeah, you could use this really gross green, or you could use whatever full design system is already in place, whatever full component library is already in place, and this will just kind of squeeze right in and fill the space that's needed between them.
It's a very cool middle ground. Yeah, I like it.
I really like it.
Awesome. Well, I'll stop sharing. But anyway. Did we switch places, or was I always on the top?
Oh yeah, I think at one point, because I didn't want your face to be covered up by the comments that I kept throwing up, so I was like, hide my ugly mug. It's much better for the fans. So
You've been promoted. Congratulations.
Wait. It kicks you out of this. I'm now the new co-host. I'm just kidding.
I literally am. Yes.
Yes. Welcome to our guest, Alyssa.
Ooh. Oh, that's funny. Well, this was a great episode, Travis. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad you thought it was great.
It really was. Before we wrap, just a couple of little things. First off, I know, as we talked about, Bedrock is an open source project. So are you currently looking for contributors? Are you looking for help? If people are interested in getting involved, what's the best way for them to do that?
I would love contributors, and every little contribution is great. Like, even if it's like, this doesn't work, that lets me know it needs to work anyway. But yeah, I've had anything from spell documentation, spelling fixes. If you go to the webpage, some of the people down at the bottom, Alex Trost from Front End Horse and Chantastic, Michael Chan, they haven't written any line of code, but I still consider them contributors because they've helped me really build out the documentation site to be useful and actually a useful tool to people. So any little bit will help build things. Obviously, if you have an idea for a component pattern that I don't follow, or you just think some more examples, even that would help. Anything would be great. So the best way to contribute is there's a contributing guideline if you want to do code, but honestly, if just throwing up issues helps a lot, even if it's just throwing up an issue or discussion.
Nice. And then I'm trying to grab all of the links because, like we talked about, you've got a lot going on. You've got your own streaming channel as well on Twitch, which I'm gonna go ahead and pop here in the bottom, building Bedrock Layout, so folks can tune in and watch you chip away at some Bedrock projects. And was there anything else that you wanted to highlight or share?
I'm on Twitter if you want to throw that on there.
Yeah, totally. Let me
Travis Waith-Mair camel case.
Let me copy that link. I think I've got it somewhere. There we go.
And I'm always hanging out in the lunch.dev Discord channel. There's a great community of just really smart people as well as content creators. And
I don't think I'm familiar with that one.
It used to be called, started off as the Discord for React podcasts, but A, Michael Chan hasn't been doing the React podcast, and B, it evolved beyond just React. They have major people in TypeScript and Redux and Angular and Vue. Everybody's in there just helping each other out. So eventually Michael's let's change this to lunch.dev. The idea is
nice.
Hang out here during your lunch break and we'll do things anyway. So yeah,
really
I'm in there all the time, and that's a great group of people. I recommend that to everybody.
Sweet. Yeah, I was trying to see if I could find a link for that, but
I think it's
I'm sure it's somewhere, but
I'm sure
we'll find it later.
If anybody of my friends are still in there, still watching the chat, they could throw in a link fast. Ben Myers, if he's still in there, he probably could.
But yeah, but otherwise, I think that's about our time for today. So thank you so much for joining us. This was a lot of fun.
No problem. Thanks. I had a great time. Thanks for letting me come on and just goof off with you guys.
Absolutely. That is genuinely our goal. So, all right, folks. Well, have a good rest of your day wherever you're tuning in
Yeah.
from, and we will catch you guys back on UI Mondays next week. See y'all.
Bye.